A 68-year-old man sat across from me recently, eyes lowered, voice barely above a whisper. "Doctor, I used to feel better afterward, but now, every time I finish, I just feel empty." He's not alone. I've heard this from countless older men who believed what they were doing was harmless. But after age 63, the rules begin to change. What once felt normal and even healthy can slowly start to drain your energy, weaken your drive, and quietly affect your prostate and circulation, without any warning signs until it's too late. I'm Dr. James Ellison, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist with over 60 years of clinical experience. I've helped thousands of aging men protect their vitality, their confidence, and their sense of manhood without shame, pills, or confusion. You've been told masturbation is safe, natural, even beneficial, but the truth is, after a certain age, it can become a hidden trigger for fatigue, low libido, and long-term sexual health issues. In this video, I'll reveal the 5 biggest masturbation mistakes men over 63 are making, and how to fix them before they quietly rob you of your strength. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of the essential advice built specifically for men like you. And if this video speaks to you, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're with me. If not, type 0 so I can keep improving and bring you exactly what you need. So let's begin with the first and often most overlooked mistake, one that doesn't just affect your body, but quietly chips away at your peace of mind. How masturbation after 63 can disrupt your mental health. 1. Masturbation that silently disrupts your mental health. I've seen it happen too many times. A man in his late 60s or 70s walks into my office looking physically fine, but mentally something's off. He can't quite explain it. He's more irritable, more anxious, sometimes even detached from the people he loves. And when we sit down and really talk, the truth starts to come out. For years, he's been using masturbation as a way to cope with boredom, stress, or loneliness. What started as a harmless habit in his youth has quietly become something else entirely. You see, after age 63, the brain's response to sexual release changes. The surge of dopamine and oxytocin, the feel-good chemicals that once brought a sense of calm and satisfaction, begin to fade. Instead, what often follows is a wave of emotional flatness. Some men describe it as a fog. Others say it feels like something important is missing, but they can't quite put their finger on it. What they don't realize is that the repeated cycle of stimulation and release without true connection is rewiring their emotional state, conditioning the brain to associate intimacy with isolation, not love or closeness. Over time, this quiet erosion of mental well-being can lead to more serious consequences: depression, social withdrawal, even memory and focus issues. And the worst part is, most men don't even suspect masturbation could be part of the problem. No one talks about it. No one warns them. They're left thinking it's just part of aging. But it's not. This is avoidable. And once men understand the connection, they begin to reclaim not just their mental clarity, but their emotional strength too. Now, here's the twist. While your mind may be suffering in silence, your body could be sending you another signal, a far more physical one, and it's hidden in how your desire for real intimacy starts to disappear without you even noticing. Let's take a closer look at that next. If you're still watching and this message is resonating with you, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and paying attention. Now let's keep going. What you hear next might just shift the way you see intimacy forever. 2. Masturbation that reduces interest in sexual intimacy. I once asked a patient in his 70s, "When was the last time you felt truly close to someone?" He looked away for a moment, then quietly said, "I'm not sure I even remember what that feels like." He wasn't talking about conversation or company. He meant intimacy. And over time, he had replaced that human connection with something far easier, far more private, but also far more damaging. Masturbation, especially in older men, can become a hidden substitute for real emotional and physical connection. After 63, many men find themselves alone more often, their routines quieter, their opportunities for closeness fewer. It's easy to fall into the pattern of self-pleasure as a stand-in for affection. The problem is, the brain doesn't know the difference. When you masturbate regularly without emotional closeness, your body starts to believe that connection is no longer needed. Over time, your desire for intimacy with a partner, both physical and emotional, begins to fade without you even realizing it. This isn't just about sex. It's about losing the spark that makes you feel alive, seen, and desired. It's about forgetting what it's like to reach for someone else and to feel their warmth reach back. When a man loses that drive, something deeper often goes with it. His confidence, his sense of purpose, even his identity as a partner. What's most concerning is how silently it happens. You don't wake up one day and decide you're done with intimacy. It slips away gradually, masked by the convenience of solo habits that promise satisfaction but offer no real connection. Before you know it, your relationships suffer, not because of conflict, but because of distance. But that distance doesn't stop at the heart. It begins to impact the body too, in ways most men never expect. What if I told you that your very ability to feel pleasure, to perform, and to stay engaged during intimacy is quietly being rewritten by this habit? The next mistake reveals exactly how that happens. 3. Masturbation that affects the quality of sexual experience. Not long ago, a gentleman in his late 60s told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Doctor, when I'm with my wife, it's like my body is there, but my senses aren't. It used to be electric. Now it's just dull. He wasn't broken. He wasn't sick. But something had shifted, and it had everything to do with how he'd been pleasuring himself when he was alone." You see, when masturbation becomes mechanical or overly reliant on intense, unrealistic stimulation, like explicit videos or rushed habits, it begins to rewire the nervous system. Especially after 63, when nerve sensitivity and blood flow naturally decline, your body starts adapting to the environment you repeatedly create. If your arousal is being shaped by solo experiences that are fast, exaggerated, or emotionally disconnected, that becomes the standard your body responds to. The result? When you're finally in a moment of real connection with your partner, your spouse, someone you care about, you may find that you can't stay aroused, or worse, you feel detached and unresponsive even if your mind wants to be present. This disconnect doesn't just hurt your performance, it wounds your confidence. You start second-guessing your masculinity. You begin to worry that something is wrong with you. And often men blame aging, when in truth, the culprit is much more subtle. Repeated patterns of self-pleasure that desensitize the body to true intimacy. Over time, this can create a cycle, one where real sex feels less satisfying. So, you return to masturbation for quick relief. But that relief comes at a cost. The steady dulling of your natural human ability to feel deep, mutual pleasure. And the consequences don't stop there. Because what if I told you this pattern isn't just affecting how you feel in the moment, but could actually be weakening your sexual function at a biological level? The next mistake exposes how your habits might be draining your very ability to perform at all. Let's talk about that. If you're still here and these insights are speaking to you, type 1 in the comments so I know you're with me. Let's keep moving forward. Now, point number 4 reveals something most men never realize until it's too late. 4. Masturbation that can reduce sexual and reproductive ability. I remember a retired Marine in his early 70s who came to see me with a quiet urgency in his voice. "Doc," he said, "I still feel desire, but I don't feel capable anymore. I'm not the man I used to be." He had been healthy for most of his life. No major illnesses, no serious medications, and yet, over the past few years, his energy had dropped, his erections had weakened, and his sense of manhood had started slipping away. What surprised him most was the cause, a seemingly innocent habit he'd carried from his younger years into his older ones: frequent masturbation. As we age, our body's ability to replenish testosterone slows down. Blood flow weakens, recovery takes longer. Every time a man ejaculates, he draws from his body's limited hormonal and energetic reserves. When done occasionally and mindfully, this isn't a problem. But when it becomes frequent, done out of boredom, stress, or habit, it slowly begins to drain the very fuel that powers a man's sexual function. What many men don't realize is that excessive or poorly timed masturbation after 63 can lead to lower sperm volume, weaker erections, and longer recovery times. The prostate, already prone to age-related enlargement, can become irritated or inflamed with constant stimulation. And over time, what was once a strong and vital sexual system starts to feel unreliable, even fragile. This decline doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in quietly. One day you're skipping a night with your partner because you're tired. Another day you're noticing it takes longer to get aroused. Soon it becomes a pattern. And most men blame it on getting older, never realizing how much their private routine is accelerating the decline. But what happens when the body starts pushing back harder when it no longer stays silent? The final mistake reveals how long-term habits may be affecting more than your performance. They could be harming your urinary system and your prostate in ways that demand your attention. You need to hear this. 5. Masturbation that can lead to urinary and prostate issues. I once treated a 71-year-old man who came in complaining of frequent nighttime urination and a strange pressure in his lower abdomen. He assumed it was just his age catching up with him. But after a thorough exam, the real story became clear. His prostate was inflamed, his pelvic floor was overworked, and his bladder wasn't emptying properly. When I asked about his habits, he hesitated, then admitted he'd been masturbating almost daily for years, never thinking it could be the problem. But here's the truth. After 63, the body becomes more sensitive, more reactive, and far less forgiving. The act of masturbation, especially when done with force, tension, or without proper awareness, places significant strain on the delicate muscles and structures in the pelvic region. The prostate, already under pressure from age-related enlargement, can become irritated, leading to discomfort, inflammation, or even early symptoms of prostatitis. And it doesn't stop there. Repetitive stimulation can also lead to urethral sensitivity, delayed urination, and that all too common feeling of never quite emptying your bladder. Over time, these minor annoyances grow into chronic issues, disrupting sleep, sapping energy, and undermining confidence. Many men simply accept these changes as part of getting older, not realizing their private habits may be contributing more than they think. It's easy to overlook this. After all, the damage doesn't show up overnight. It creeps in through subtle warning signs. The dribble after you think you're done, the extra trip to the bathroom at 3 a.m., the dull ache that wasn't there a year ago, and by the time it becomes uncomfortable enough to take seriously, most men are already in a cycle that's hard to break. But here's the good news. These issues aren't irreversible. With the right adjustments, most men can protect their prostate, restore balance, and/or wrench rage regain confidence. In fact, in the next section, I'm going to share the exact advice I give my own patients on how to masturbate safely, wisely, and without harming your body after 63. You won't want to miss it, because what you do next could change everything. 6 doctors' advice: how to masturbate safely after 63. Let me be clear. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness. As a urologist, I've spoken with thousands of older men who've carried confusion, guilt, or frustration around this topic for years. Many were never told how aging changes the rules. They simply did what they'd always done, not realizing their body was no longer reacting the same way. And that's where problems start. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because no one ever told them how to do it right for this stage of life. After 63, your body asks for more care, more patience, more intention. If you still choose to masturbate, and many do, you need to treat it as a form of self-care, not an escape. I usually recommend keeping the frequency to 2 or 3 times a week at most. That gives your body the time it needs to recover, especially hormonally and neurologically. Always make sure your hands and genitals are clean. Infections happen more easily with age, and cleanliness is a simple way to protect your health. More importantly, be gentle. Your skin is thinner now, your tissues less resilient. What felt fine at 40 might cause irritation or injury at 70 if you're not careful. Choose times when you're relaxed, not when you're stressed, angry, or using it to distract yourself. Your mind and body are deeply connected. When you masturbate under pressure or emotional strain, you're reinforcing unhealthy patterns that disconnect you from your own emotional and sexual well-being. Also, avoid explicit content if you can. I've seen too many older men become emotionally numbed by it. It sets unrealistic expectations and rewires the brain in ways that make real intimacy feel flat or unexciting. Finally, listen to your body. If something feels off, pain, pressure, burning, or emotional discomfort, don't ignore it. That's your body asking for help, and you deserve to be heard. You're not broken. You're aging. And with the right care, this part of your life can still be healthy, connected, and deeply fulfilling. Conclusion. If you've stayed with me this far, I want to say something very simple, but very real. I respect you. This conversation hasn't been easy, and it's not something most men ever get the chance to hear, let alone talk about. But the fact that you've taken the time to listen means you're not just living passively through your later years. You're paying attention, you care, and that alone makes you part of the rare few who still believe their health, their vitality, and their connection to others are worth fighting for. Masturbation in your 60s, 70s, and beyond isn't the same as it was in your youth. Your hormones are shifting, your circulation is slowing, your nervous system, your prostate, and even your emotional resilience. They all operate differently now. And yet, most men keep approaching intimacy with the habits they formed decades ago, not out of recklessness, but simply because no one ever taught them otherwise. In our time together, we uncovered 5 silent mistakes that have been quietly chipping away at the well-being of older men. How frequent masturbation can cloud mental clarity. How it replaces true intimacy with fleeting moments of detachment. How it lowers the quality of sexual experience by training the body away from human connection. How it depletes hormonal and reproductive strength. And how it can aggravate prostate and urinary health in ways many men dismiss until it's too late. None of these mistakes make you weak. They don't make you broken. They just make you human, aging, adapting, and still learning. That's the truth no one tells older men. You're not finished growing just because you've reached a certain age. In fact, the choices you make now may be some of the most powerful in your entire life. I've spent over 30 years listening to men who've struggled in silence. Men who thought they were alone in their questions, their confusion, and sometimes even their shame. I'm here to remind you, you are not alone. Your health matters. Your sexual identity still matters. And yes, your pleasure still matters too, but only when it's aligned with the needs of your changing body. So, what do you do now? You take what you've learned and you make one small shift. Maybe it's spacing out your release. Maybe it's being more mindful about why and how you engage in self-pleasure. Maybe it's opening up to your partner or seeing your doctor without fear or embarrassment. Whatever it is, you do it with intention, with self-respect, and with the quiet strength of a man who understands that real control doesn't come from avoiding the truth, but from facing it head-on. Aging doesn't mean fading. It means refining. And when you know how to work with your body, not against it, you'll be amazed at what's still possible. This isn't goodbye. This is the start of a new chapter. One that puts your health, your connection, and your confidence first. So take a breath, take a moment, and take one step forward. You've already done the hardest part. Now, let the rest unfold with clarity, courage, and care. I'm proud of you, and I'm right here with you. If this message helped you see things differently, drop a 1 in the comments, hit subscribe, and share this with another man who deserves to protect his health and confidence.